Yeah, greetings all. It's a very windy day today. 14 miles an hour. You probably hear it in the microphone. Well, yesterday, Ellen and I were, I was talking about the Bolt EV. And whereas there have been some issues, by and large, I'm very happy with the EV. And I was referring to the fact that we're having a second EV charger, more panels and so on installed, so I can get a second electric vehicle. Well, she reminded me of the time that we were crossing the middle of the saddle road, and I hadn't properly charged the battery in the car. This was when we first got it, and we were not used to owning an electric car. And we started to run out of juice up in the middle of the saddle road, and Ellen wanted to run the air conditioner, and I'm going, do not run the air conditioner. It'll drain the battery. It doesn't run on gasoline in an EV. It runs off your battery. And I said, just crack the window if you're hot. Don't, because as we get to the helo side and start going downhill, the motor will begin to recharge the battery. It turns into a generator as it goes downhill, and we'll be fine. But just don't run the air conditioner. Well, he says, yeah, I remember when you said that, and I'm going, man, I tell you, rather than run out of juice, I said I would just sweat my butt off rather than run out of electricity somewhere up in the saddle road. Yeah, I wouldn't give a darn about my creature comfort as long as the car made it home. Well, that brought up a memory. I've been having a lot of these, my life is flashing before my eyes, memories lately, things that randomly pop up out of the blue. And when I mentioned sweating my butt off in an automobile, it brought up red dust detours in Mexico. Yeah, back in 1970, I took a trip with two friends of mine from Chicago, and we were headed for Guatemala. And it was a 36,000 mile one-way trip, frankly. The car never made it back to Chicago. And so on. And we did never make it quite to Guatemala, because as we got to the border, we realized there was a revolution going on. And so we spent most of our time in the state of Michoacan during that journey. But, well, during the journey, both going into the country and out of the country for thousands of miles, there were these detours, terrible detours of the worst sort ever. They kind of must have run a road grader or a dozer or something across the desert a little bit, but they were rough, full of rocks, just chuck holes and dust, red, dry dust. Oh, so much dust. Yeah, and it was hot, real hot. Well, somewhere along the line, as we were heading south into the country, we ran into this collection of Airstream trailers. It was an American camping club. There must have been 30 or 40 of them, I don't know. And they'd be pulling these things at a slow rate of speed, and we'd be sleeping in the desert somewhere, all of a sudden I'd hear trailers. I wake up and I go, oh no, the trailers, we called them the blimps. The blimps are coming! And quick, get everything in the car, take off and start trying to pass all of these till we get to the front, okay? So we were leading the convoy. But sometimes that didn't happen, and we'd end up stuck in one of these red dust Mexican detours behind an entire convoy of Airstream trailers. Well, of course, they got the eggs in there, and who knows what's in those trailers, and they're traveling at 2 miles an hour. We had this old 61 Plymouth Valiant, and it was originally had been in fairly good condition when we entered the country. It was a complete wreck when we left the country. But yeah, we've lost the exhaust system, twisted up the suspension, glove compartment fell out on my toes, the top liner collapsed on top of my head in a detour. You name it, twisted up all manner of different things. Well, we'd be out there and going along in these detours, and these trailers are trying to do 4 miles an hour. Well, it's all this dust, and our Valiant would begin to heat up. Yeah, the temperature gauge would start rising and rising and rising. It'd be nearly 100 out there in the desert, and we're creeping, and it'd just start to boil. Well, we had a little desert water bag hanging on the front of the thing, but that wasn't going to be enough water if anything went wrong out there. So the only thing we could do, we turned down the heater. Yeah, turn on the heater. The heater core is the second radiator in your car, and it's got a fan on it. And adding the heater core and the fan at full tilt was enough to keep the car cool enough that we wouldn't boil over on these red dust detours. Problem is, it's 100 degrees outside. You turn on the heater inside a car, pretty quick. Yeah, here it's a hot box. It's sauna. So we had to roll the windows down. It's the only way. Let all the heat go out. Well, then all the red dust come in. We'd be so covered in dust. I mean, I'd be perspiring, and the dust would just stick to me, and it'd get all over the car, all over everything. And it soaked into the pores. After about the fourth red dust Mexican detour, I had so much red dust in my pores that when we crossed the border, it took 4 showers in Tucson to clean it out of my skin, because otherwise I looked like a Mexican. I was red-brown just from the color of the soil from those detours. Well, there you go, folks. There's the story of the red dust detour. That same trip to Mexico has, there's a whole bunch of other interesting things that occurred. Anybody's curious, I will be glad to tell those stories. Apparently, although Leopold's diary didn't go over well, Ellen just asked me if I'm going to keep reading it, and I said, nah, nobody seems to like it. So, today I'm trying to tell one of my own stories. Okay, red dust and dust. Aloha. Hang loose.